Chapter 7, Personal and Environmental Factors Affecting Learning. Question 1. Differentiate between physiological and psychological readiness for learning, providing an example for each. Number A. Explain physiological readiness. Number B. Explain psychological readiness. Learning readiness is a critical precursor to effective instruction, encompassing various dimensions of a student's preparedness. These dimensions can be broadly categorized into physiological and psychological aspects, both of which are foundational for academic engagement and success. Number A. Physiological readiness refers to the state of a learner's physical body and sensory systems. It includes factors like adequate nutrition, physical health and sensory acuity, vision and hearing. A child suffering from malnutrition or chronic fatigue lacks the physical energy to concentrate in class, representing poor physiological readiness. Similarly, uncorrected visual impairments can prevent a student from reading the blackboard, thus hindering learning. A school principal's role in organizing regular health checkups directly addresses the need to ensure students are physiologically prepared to learn and can fully participate in educational activities. Number B. Psychological readiness, on the other hand, pertains to the learner's internal mental and emotional state. This includes their interest in the subject, their intrinsic motivation or will to learn, and a positive attitude towards schooling. For example, a student who has a deep curiosity about space exploration exhibits high psychological readiness for a physics lesson on celestial mechanics. Conversely, a student experiencing emotional distress or who perceives a subject as irrelevant will have low psychological readiness, regardless of their cognitive ability. Fostering this readiness involves creating an engaging and supportive learning environment. Number two, analyzing a school's readiness program. As the new principal of a Kendriya Vidyalaya, you notice that while the school conducts annual health checkups, there is no systematic process to assess the educational or psychological readiness of incoming class 1 students. Teachers report that many students struggle with basic pre-literacy skills and classroom adjustment for the first time for the first few months. You decide to implement a comprehensive readiness assessment program based on the concept of learning readiness. Propose a strategy to introduce diagnostic testing for incoming students, justifying your approach from an administrative and pedagogical perspective. To address the observed gap, my strategy would be to introduce a non threatening, play based diagnostic assessment for incoming class 1 students, focusing on educational and psychological readiness. Administratively, this would involve training a team of teachers to conduct these assessments during the admission period. The goal is not to screen out students but to create a baseline profile for each child. This data would be used to form heterogeneous class groups and provide teachers with crucial entry behavior information enabling them to plan their initial instruction more effectively and identifying children needing early support. Pedagogically, this approach is justified as it shifts the focus from remediation to proactive support by understanding a child's prerequisite knowledge. For example, exemplary criteria, color recognition, fine motor skills, and their psychological state, exemplary criteria, suppression anxiety, ability to follow simple instructions. Teachers can scaffold learning right from day one. This diagnostic tool would help in designing a bridge program for the first month, focusing on school readiness activities rather than immediately jumping into the formal curriculum, thereby ensuring a smoother transition for all students. Number three, distinguish between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation in the context of fostering a love for learning in students. Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation are two fundamental forces that drive students' behavior, but they differ significantly in their origin and long term impact on learning. Extrinsic motivation is driven by external rewards or punishments, such as receiving good grades, tangible prize, or avoiding a parent's disapproval. For instance, a student studying hard solely to win a Student of the Year award is extrinsically motivated, while effective in the short term for encouraging specific behaviors. Over reliance on extrinsic motivators can diminish a student's inherent interest in the subject matter itself. Intrinsic motivation conversely arises from within the individual. It is the desire to engage in an activity for the inherent satisfaction, challenge, or joy it brings. A student who spends hours learning to code because they enjoy problem solving is intrinsically motivated. Fostering a genuine love for learning requires shifting the classroom focus from external rewards to nurturing this internal drive. This is achieved by making learning relevant, providing students with choices, and creating challenges that are optimally matched to their abilities. Number four, the self-determination theory (SDT) posits three innate psychological needs that are crucial for fostering motivation and well-being. Number A, name the three psychological needs as per SDT, self-determination theory. Number B, briefly explain the concept of autonomy in a classroom setting. Number C, how can a teacher support a student's need for relatedness? The self-determination theory (SDT) is a prominent theory of motivation and emphasizes the critical role of the learning environment in the nurturing a student's inner drive. Number A, the three innate psychological needs identified by the self-determination theory are competence, autonomy, and relatedness. Fulfilling these needs is considered essential for students to become self-motivated and engaged learners. Number B, autonomy refers to the need for students to feel a sense of control and volition over their own actions and learning. In a classroom, this doesn't mean a lack of structure but rather providing meaningful choices. For example, a teacher can support autonomy by allowing students to choose their project topic within a given theme, select their method of presentation, exemplary criteria, a report, a video, a skit, or decide on the order in which they complete a set of tasks. Number C. Relatedness is the need to feel connected to and cared for the others and cared for by others. A teacher can support this by creating a positive and respectful classroom community. This involves learning students' names and interests, showing empathy, fostering a safe environment where students are not afraid to ask questions or make mistakes, and designing collaborative activities where students can work together and build positive peer relationships. This sense of belonging is crucial for academic persistence. Number 5. Motivating a high aptitude, low interest student. Rohan, a class 10 student in Navodaya Vidyalaya, consistently scores high on aptitude tests for mathematics, indicating a strong natural ability. However, his class participation is minimal. He rarely completes homework and his exam scores are only average. His teacher observes that Rohan seems completely disengaged and has expressed that he finds the syllabus boring and pointless. As the school principal advised the teacher on a course of action. Number A. How can the teacher use the expectancy value theory to diagnose Rohan's lack of motivation? Number B. Suggest two specific strategies to arouse and sustain Rohan's interest in mathematics, moving him from extrinsic to intrinsic motivation. The teacher is facing a classic case of a student with high aptitude but low motivation, which requires a targeted intervention based on sound motivational principles. Number A. According to the expectancy value theory, motivation is a product of two factors: expectancy, belief in one's ability to succeed, and value, the perceived benefit or importance of the task. Rohan has high expectancy as indicated by his aptitude scores, but his motivation is low because he places very little value on the task. He sees mathematics as boring and pointless. The teacher's first step is to diagnose this value deficit and understand why Rohan doesn't see the relevance or utility of what he is learning, which is the root cause of his disengagement. Number B. To arouse interest, the teacher can first connect mathematics to Rohan's personal interests. If he is interested in video games, the teacher could introduce him to concepts of physics, engines, or geometric modeling. Second, to sustain interest and build intrinsic motivation, the teacher would offer him more challenging, non-routine problems or a project that requires applying mathematical concepts to a real-world issue, such as data analysis for a local environmental problem. This provides autonomy and a sense of completeness and sense of competence, fulfilling key needs as per self-determination theory. Number 6. Explain the role of vocational interest inventories in the secondary stage of schooling. Number A. What is the primary purpose of a vocational interest inventory? Number B. Why is its administrative why is it why is its administration particularly important at the secondary stage, classes 9 to 12? Vocational interest inventories are standardized psychometric tools that play a crucial guidance role in a student's educational journey, especially during the pivotal Secondary years. Number A. The primary purpose of a vocational interest inventory is not to measure aptitude or ability, but to identify an individual's pattern of likes and dislikes for various activities, occupations, and school subjects. It compares a student's interest profile with the profiles of people who are successfully and happily employed in different occupations. The inventory helps students explore career fields that align with their inherent interests, thereby increasing the likelihood of future job satisfaction and success. It is a tool for self exploration and career awareness rather than a definitive predictor of success. B. The secondary stage is a critical period of transition where students make significant decisions about their academic streams and future career paths. Administering, administering these inventories at this stage is important because it encourages students to think systematically about their future. It helps them move beyond conventional career choices and explore a wider range of options. For students in KBS and NVS who come from diverse backgrounds, these inventories can broaden their horizons and guide them towards making informed, personally meaningful choices, preventing mismatch between interest and career selection. Number seventh, compare and contrast the characteristics of field dependent and field independent learners and their implications for classroom instructions. Field dependent and field independent cognitive styles describe how learners perceive and process information, particularly how they distinguish parts from the whole in a complex field. Field-dependent learners have a more global perspective and find it difficult to separate an item from its surrounding context. They tend to be more socially oriented, are sensitive to social cues, and often prefer collaborative work. They respond well to clear structure, external guidance, and learning material that is presented with a clear social or human context. In contrast, field independent learners are more analytical and can easily distinguish parts from the whole. They can perceive objects as separate from the field. These learners tend to be more individualistic, intrinsically motivated, and comfortable with abstract concepts. They excel at tasks that require analysis and problem solving and often prefer to work alone. For a principal, understanding these styles means encouraging teachers to use a mix of instructional strategies, including both group projects and individual analytical tasks, to cater to the diverse cognitive preferences within the classroom. Number 8. The VAK learning style debate. A newly appointed teacher in your school is a strong proponent of the visual, auditory, and kinesthetic VAK learning styles model. She has assessed all her students and is designing separate activities for each group. For instance, visual learners are only given reading tasks, while kinesthetic learners are only engaged in hands on activities. While you appreciate her enthusiasm, you are concerned about the pedagogical soundness of this rigid application. As a subject expert and principal, how would you guide this teacher regarding the pedagogical utility versus the methodological aspects of the VAK model? I would begin by commending the teacher for her commitment to catering to individual student needs, acknowledging that her intention is positive. I would then gently reframe the conversation around the pedagogical utility of the BAK model rather than its validity as a rigid diagnostic tool. I would explain that while students may have preferences, strong scientific evidence does not support the idea that teaching exclusively to a specific style, exempli gratia, only visual methods for a visual learner, enhances learning outcomes. This practice, known as the meshing hypothesis, is largely considered a myth. Instead, I would guide her to use the BAK framework as a tool for varied instruction for all students, not as a means of labeling and segregating them. The real pedagogical utility of BAK lies in designing multi-sense relations that incorporate visual aids, auditory explanations, and kinesthetic activities for everyone. This approach, aligned with universal design for learning (UDL), ensures that all students are engaged through multiple pathways, reinforcing concepts more effectively and catering to the diverse preferences within the entire class rather than limiting students to a single perceived style. Number 9. Explain the cognitive impact of anxiety on a learner. Number A. What is meant by the term amygdala hijack in the context of learning? Number B. What is the role of a teacher in creating a low anxiety classroom environment? Anxiety and stress are significant emotional factors that can profoundly impede the learning process by disrupting cognitive functions. Amygdala number A. Amygdala hijack is a term that describes the process where the amygdala, the brain's emotional processing center, responds to a perceived threat like high stakes testing, fear of ridicule, or excessive pressure by triggering a fight or flight response. This emotional response effectively overrides the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for higher order cognitive functions like working memory, logical reasoning, and problem solving. When a student is in this state, their cognitive brain is hijacked, making it physiologically difficult to process new information, think clearly, or retrieve learned knowledge. This explains why students can go blank during an exam. Number B. A teacher's role is pivotal in creating a low anxiety environment that minimizes the risk of an amygdala hijack. This involves establishing a climate of psychological safety where students feel comfortable asking questions and making mistakes without fear of judgment. Teachers can achieve this by framing errors as learning opportunities, providing clear expectations and constructive feedback, avoiding timed tests for complex tasks, practicing mindfulness or calming techniques, and building a supportive, trusting relationship with each student. This fosters an optimal state for cognitive engagement and learning. Number 10. Addressing addressing socioeconomic disadvantages in a KVS. As the principal of a Kendriya Vidyalaya located near a diverse socioeconomic area, you observe a significant performance gap Students from affluent backgrounds often come with strong cultural capital, exemplary criteria, preschooling, exposure to English at home, and have easy access to digital devices. Conversely, many students from lower income families or first generation learners face a digital divide, and so signs of cognitive load issues potentially linked to the impact of poverty on working memory. As an educational leader, outline a three-pronged strategy to fulfill the KBS mandate of neutralizing these socio-economic disadvantages. Number A. Purpose: one initiative to address the cultural capital gap. Number B. Suggest a practical measure to bridge the digital divide within the school. Number C. How would you train your teachers to manage the cognitive load of disadvantaged students? As principal, my core objective would be to implement a multifaceted strategy that actively works to level the playing field for all students, embodying the inclusive ethos of KBS. Number 8. To address the cultural capital gap, I would institute a mandatory and well-structured bridge course for the first month of the academic year, especially for primary classes. This program would focus on foundational language skills, social etiquette, and school readiness activities in a play-based, non-judgmental manner. It would aim to provide all students with a common baseline of experiences and vocabulary, explicitly teaching the hidden curriculum that some students may not have been exposed to at home. Number B. To bridge the digital divide, I would establish a digital library and after school tech club. The school's computer lab would be kept open for 2 hours after school under supervision, allowing students without home access to complete online assignments, conduct research, and learn digital literacy skills. The club would offer peer tutoring and project based learning, making technology accessible and empowering for all. Number C. I would organize professional development workshops for teachers on the cognitive science of poverty. The training would focus on strategies to, to reduce extraneous cognitive load, such as breaking down complex instructions using clear and concise language, providing visual aids and graphic organizers, and allowing more time for tasks. Teachers should be trained to be more patient and empathetic, understanding that a student's lack of focus might stem from depleted cognitive resources, not a lack of effort. Number 11. Discuss the impact of the home environment on students' learning.